Hello. We're talking about no contact today. So if that's something that is if that is something that you're interested in, go ahead and stick around. We're going to talk about when is the right time to do it. So let's go ahead and get us live here on Instagram as well. Go ahead and say hello. Hi, welcome y'all. We're talking about no contact today. So, if that is something that you have dealt with, that you've experienced, had some issues with, go ahead and let me know in the chat below. Let me know if this is exactly what you have been needing to hear about, because it's absolutely what we're talking about today. And if you're joining me on the replay, let me know in the chat that you're catching the replay for this. So let me go ahead and put the topic in the chat and pin it on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Okay, there we go. Hi. Okay, here we are. So the full intro for everyone who is watching now. We are talking about when is the right time to go into no contact. For those of you who may be joining me for the first time, I teach no contact as a healing and detox tool when it comes to breaking trauma bonded relationships. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like and the way that I teach it. But I just need to give that disclaimer up front because no contact can mean a whole lot of things to a whole lot of different folks in different communities. Sometimes no contact is used for some folks who may be in the dating sphere to kind of use it as a method to make someone yearn for you and miss you and get them to come back. Some people, I mean, we talk about no contact all the time. It's kind of like in the atmosphere. People use the word no contact, but even the definition there means a whole lot of things. It can mean that I'm not talking to this person just for right now. They can mean I'm not talking to this person indefinitely. It can mean that I am not talking just to one individual person, but I am still open to romance and love in other areas of my life as well. But it's just one particular person that I am cutting off contact with. The intention behind it, just because I'm mad at them. And so I block them for a few months and then I'm back in contact with them. I don't block them at all. I just look at their messages when they come through. And then I don't answer until this time that I decide that I want to respond. Um, we still talk on the phone, but we don't hang out, right? So there's so many different ways that people discuss no contact. So I'm going to talk about the way that I teach it and why I teach it that way. And then I'm going to talk about some reasons how you're supposed to know when is the right time to do it. Okay. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and put ready in the chat, ready in the chat. And while you do that, while I'm waiting for the time to catch up and for y'all to type for me, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Sheena Lachey. I'm very thirsty right now, so I'm going to be drinking the whole time. But I am the founder of Black Girls Heal, and I help women heal from the symptoms of love addiction, love avoidance, and love deprivation, and the trauma that causes it, to become healed and loved women, and to get the love that they want and that they deserve in their lives. Okay. And so I have a lot of different ways that I help women do that. I have a podcast called the Black Girls Heal Podcast, where I talk about these topics in detail. We have our free roadmap, we have free master classes, and then our main program, which is the Recovery School coaching program, which is where I help women break these patterns in 4 to 6 months. One of the things that I teach women to do is the no contact process. Thank you for the readies, y'all. Hey, sister. So the no contact process, the way that I teach it, is a healing tool that is focused for you to detox. So here I talk about love addiction as an intimacy disorder, intimacy pattern, where you are in a persistent pattern of mistaking the intensity, obsession, and overconnection that you may have for someone for love. So this goes past being a hopeless romantic. This goes past falling in love with the idea of love, because a love addict, the way that this is a trauma response, or the reason why this is a trauma response, as a love addict is going to fall in love with the fantasy or the ideal of someone who is persistently unavailable to her. So she, in a room of 100 people, she's going to pick the person to befriend, to partner with, to get close to, who's going to constantly neglect her, flake on her, abandon her, reject her, hurt her. And she's going to constantly be in a pattern of trying to get their love, prove their love, appease them, and get connected to them, even when it puts her in emotional, physical, financial, and sexual danger. Even when she logically knows better, even when she doesn't want to do it at all anymore, she is compelled to do it. And different than the kind of coming of age thing that happens with a lot of people in the world, if not most people in the world, who have had multiple different romantic partnerships. A lot of people, especially if you're securely attached, you can go through a period where you have a bad boy phase or a bad girl phase or whoever it is, and you'll have these experiences, you'll learn from them, and you will grow. The love addicts will continue to have unhealthy relationship experiences with people who are avoidant, with people who are narcissists, with people who continue to emotionally injure her, which will make her want to go into love avoidance sometimes and shut down, have an inability to let people in and let people trust her. And this is a trauma response because she has learned the connection. She's learned to be attracted to or to attract, whichever phrasing feels better and more supportive to you. But she's learned to feel more comfortable connecting to people who are going to consistently abandon her and not be what she needs and what she wants. This is subconscious. This is not always like something that she is fully aware of, but this is normalized to her because these are the types of relationships she's had in the past. She hasn't had people who've shown up for her, who've been consistent towards her, who've been available towards her. And so this is more of the same. Or what I'm going to talk about in a couple of podcast episodes from now is talking about how she started her life in the negative. So when she meets someone like, so say her loved ones and her parents loved her at a level that was like a negative 20, negative 30. So now she meets someone who's loving her at a negative 10 or 15. It feels like an upgrade to her. It feels like it's better. And in some ways, maybe it is better than the type of love and connection that she had before. And so she's more willing to stay there without realizing that this person is still not loving her, supporting her, protecting her in the way that she wants and needs. But because she has this belief, sensation, pattern that if I get this person to choose me, change me, fix this, like we could be so perfect, like this one little thing needs to change, and then it will all be worth it, and we'll be so happy together, and we'll be perfect. She will stay attached to that fantasy, in spite of the danger that is given to her, even when the fantasy is gone, even when she knows that this is not what she wanted it to be. She's fully clear on it. She is compelled and she cannot let go, which is where no contact comes into play, the way that I teach it. So the reason why this is important is because what people will do before they decide to do no contact, is they will try to toe the line and kind of do a little bit of both. So sometimes this looks like, okay, well, I can just be friends with them. Or it means, well, I'm just going to stop talking to them, but I'm not going to block them. I'm not going to like completely cut them off, but I got to be cordial. I got to be nice. I don't want them to look like, I don't want it to look like they have something on me, right? And so they would try to, with willpower, stay out of this connection with this person. But one or two things are going to happen, or both. Either they're going to reconnect with this person, because remember, they are attracted to, they're trying to complete this subconscious pattern. And also, that's such an unsexy thought. There's also a part of them that even if you think of a person that you might have had a trauma bonded relationship with, even if you have someone who tells you that point blank, you're so connected to the feeling of this happily ever after, that could even be offensive when people say that to you. It can feel like they're demeaning you and they're talking down to you. It feels like they don't get it. They don't get you. They don't get your person. It can make you feel more defensive around it. You're not that weak. I'm not that silly. I'm not that vulnerable. So I reject that. I hear what you're saying, but I got this kind of thing. So um, but they'll end up reconnecting with this person because you're not connected to them from a place of health and strength. You're connected to them because I need to get this unavailable person to change for me. And again, it's unconscious, it's subconscious. You don't realize it. So you're going to keep going back to that cycle because your body wants it to be different. Your mind wants it to have a different experience. Or they won't go back either because that person is no longer available or has moved on to somebody else or whatever it may be. But that person stays in their mind. So I'm not talking to you. I'm not hanging out with you. If it's romantic, I'm not sleeping with you, but you are always on my mind. I'm thinking about you all the time. I'm ruminating about our past conversations. I'm ruminating about what could have been. I'm still so angry at you. I'm still holding grudges. I'm still losing sleep. I'm still comparing future people and future friends to you. I'm still, right? You're still emotionally entangled in this and you can't escape it, right? So no contact, the way that I teach it here at Black Girls Heal, is meant to be a healing and detox tool for your nervous system that has become over-attached to a person, the fantasy of who that person is, a situation, the pattern of constantly being in this unavailable relationship and partnership with someone, and to give your body a chance to reset. It's not even about the person at all. It's about you. It's about, this is so painful and this is hard and this is so like, I keep hoping that things will be different. I keep thinking that, you can go before you do the no contact process, the way that I've described it, because I've watched women who I've worked with before tell me this, like hundreds of women tell me this, is you can go six months, a year, maybe even a couple of years, not talking to someone, only to something happens, a birthday card gets sent, they show up someplace, you show up someplace, y'all reconnect, and then automatically you're right back in the same trauma bonded cycle again. Because you cannot talk to someone, but what you lose is the fact that the reason why you were in this addictive situation with them was not just like haphazardly. It didn't just happen. There was a trauma pattern that was playing out with this person. Until you heal that trauma pattern and you replace what you were using that person for with your own resources or with something healthy, you're always going to be susceptible to this person. You're always going to be susceptible, if not to this person, to a similar situation, which is why people will exit one toxic relationship or one person who's unavailable, and then they will meet someone else who repeats the same pattern, different face, different shape, different size, but same situation. Sometimes they'll be fancy and be in a love addicted relationship, trauma bonded relationship, have a whole stint of singleness, and then the next relationship they get in, same thing happens. Or toxic, unavailable relationship, singleness, they meet someone who seems to be nice. This person gets on their nerves. This is a healthy, unavailable person, and they are like showing up for you and they're being consistent, but they just are annoying, or it just doesn't click. And you're like, I feel like this should click, but it doesn't. And you push them away and you sabotage it and you cut it off. And then your next relationship, hot and heavy, and with someone who is unavailable to you, right? So I teach the no contact process so that you can, while you're not talking to the people who constantly triggers you, get you out of your head, causes all this disruption, stops you from focusing on yourself, stops you from focusing on the other people around you who are available to love you, stops you from being able to focus on the wounds that brought you into this relationship in the first place. Once we exit out of that, we spend, the way that I teach it is I teach my folks to do it for 90 days. If you go into like 12-step programs like sex and love addiction or sex addiction, but I'm gonna stick with sex and love addiction. They tell you to go into no contact with all qualifiers and all romantic relationships for a year. I don't say here, I think that 90 days is a great, long enough time for a reset, because you're able to go through all the motions. You're able to go through all the motions of grief and anger and regret, because this is a holistic. This isn't just not talking to them. This is eliminating access on social media. This is no longer, checking stories and looking at mutual friends. This is not getting updates from people. This is truly eliminating them and their access and that memory and stuff from your life, and also using techniques whenever our fantasies and our ruminations come into play. So, as you can imagine, this is a really intense process, right? It could be something that people are very scared to do. It could be something that people are hesitant to think that to do it again, one, that they'll be able to complete it, or two, that they've done it before. How is this going to be different? And so they might even give up before they even start, right? But that's okay, because that's how you know you're getting on the right track. Because it's never been about the person who you've been over attached to. As much as you may feel that this is just about the love, and this could be the one, or this could be my best friend, or this is my mom, or this is whoever, this important person to my life, that could absolutely be a part of it. But it's more about this cycle. Your body has been accustomed to, your mind, your spirit, your nervous system has been accustomed to you being emotionally neglected and abandoned. And that's been your soft spot. That's been where you've been comfortable. And breaking that cycle is terrifying to your body and to your spirit. And it will kick up all these thoughts about what if, the what ifs, right? What if this works out? What if this doesn't work out? What if I do all this and I lose my person? If I lose the people that are the most important to me? If I look foolish? If none of this even mattered in the end, right? So before I get into how to know when's the right time to do it, let me know if that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. And let me know if you resonate with what I'm sharing too. Have you felt any of the things that I've talked about? Have you tried to do no contact yourself? Has it worked for you? Has it not worked for you? Let me know in the chat. Decided to go no contact today. Congrats, my dear. Congrats. How are you feeling today? If you're still here with me, how are you feeling? And what made you go into no contact? It does. Awesome. Great. And I'll go ahead and let you chat if you're still here with me. So let's talk about how to know when to go into no contact. Makes sense, and I definitely resonate. Definitely try the half and half and it messed up in the end. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have to learn, and this is really painful, but you have to learn that you can live a whole, full life without this person. And that's very painful and upsetting, especially if you have made the person the one, if this person has told you that they're the one, if y'all have time and energy together and a lot of commitment, because it's to say something like that, it's not even just insulting the relationship. Like that person is like your heart. It's like a part of you. So while someone's coming in and being all clinical and like you like robotic and like, you can have a life, like there's life outside of this relationship, that feels so demeaning because you don't understand. Like this person is like the air that I breathe. Like this person's like in my skin. Like they are like, I feel like they're like in my blood. And I want them to be there on top of that. I just want this to be better. Like, technically I know I can live without them. And technically there's billions of people in the world that I can live a life without, but I don't want to. And for you to suggest that means you don't understand. And also, I don't want to, like it's just, it can feel like the most invalidating and wrong thing to hear. And like tactless and even just like obtuse. Like you just don't get it. Like someone can lose their credibility. Here's why I'm still saying it though. Because the only people that you end up needing to go into no contact with, that you get to this place with, are people who are consistently emotionally hurting you so bad to the place that this is even a consideration. This is so emotionally toxic, painful, a roller coaster, depleting, a soul sucking, making you feel doubtful of yourself, making you doubt reality. As wonderful as this person could be or this relationship could be, it is causing you so much emotional pain. And no matter how much work you put into it, there are constant roadblocks. It's not getting better. You're hoping it's going to get better, but something's not clicking. And so you just think, if I do this or they do that. And what I want to propose to you is that it is possible and you're deserving of, but it's also possible that love gets to be easy. That love does not have to come with a struggle. That I can deeply love someone and be in love with them. And this might not be the right time, chapter, or lifetime for us. And you don't have to hate someone to understand that this might not be the right fit. You don't have to hate someone to say, I love you so much that I need to release you so that you can find a love that's easy for you and I can find the love that's easy for me. Right? So that's what that means. Not to discount the value of this person, the impact of this person, the magic that could be and that is when things are good or if it could be good, that's real. But what is the reality of how it's playing out right now? And is that what either of you deserve right now? Right? And if you're at a place as a love addict that is hard for you to consider your heart, then that's an issue. If I continue to be in relationships where I abandon myself just for the hope of having a partner or having a ring or having someone who's just sitting next to me, even if I'm miserable, I need to pause and look at that. I need to pause and look at how and why I keep doing this to myself, hoping that it's going to be different in the end, hoping that something's going to change. Okay? So let's jump into the right time to do no contact. And for this one, I'm going to kind of do the opposite. I'm going to say when's not the right time to do this. Happy Tuesday, Chantel. Is that my Chantel? No, it's a different Chantel, but hi, Chantel. I have a couple Chantels in my coaching program, so I thought it was you, but hello, hello. Um, the first the first way for you to know when it's time to do no contact, by way of it not being a reason to do no contact. If you are going into no contact to teach someone to lesson and or to get them back. So sometimes you go into no contact to teach them a lesson because you want them to hurt based on what they did to you or didn't do to you. So ways they've shown up, ways that they have not shown up, abandoned you, cheated on you, let you down, whatever it is. So I'm going to not talk to you so that you can feel what it's like to not have my energy in your life and to not have access to me. Right? So the no contact is temporary. The no contact is to try to manipulate them to act in a way to come back to you, to miss you, to yearn for you. Right? The no contact is focused on them. The other side of teaching them a lesson is not necessarily the punishment part. I mean, it could include that, but it's to like kind of pretend to be aloof. And I'm saying pretend because if you're doing no contact to be on someone's radar, you're not aloof. You care very much. You're very, what is it? You're not nonchalant, you're very chalant. Like you care very much what they do and what they think. And you're posing and structuring your life in a way to get them to miss you and to be the cool, independent, sexy vixen, whatever person it is, carefree person that it is, to get them to miss you and to say, what's she doing? She ain't calling me back. She ain't texting. She's out there living her life. She's posting on her stories. What's up? And to make them come back to you. The reason why this is not what I teach is the right way or the right time for you to do no contact. I already gave a whole intro of like the over focus on other people and how this type of relationship will damage you, right? And so just in that, if this is a toxic relationship, you trying to get someone back who's already undervaluing you doesn't make sense to me. I mean, that's a lie. It makes complete sense to me because I've done the things. For those of you who don't know, not only am I a coach and a therapist by trade, I teach this stuff because this has been part of the journey that I've had to walk through myself. So every single thing that I tell you, I've had to experience it. I've had to cry through it. I've had to work through it or journal through it so that I can talk to you with not only empathy, but also expertise and guidance. So just know I'm not talking to you like with an empty experience about it, right? So, but let me just go to the point of what I want to say, and I'll backtrack and fill it in. The opposite of love is not hate; it's neutrality. So if I am in a relationship with someone who's unavailable and unable to provide for me emotionally, mentally, financially, sexually, whatever, not protective of me, whatever. And the problem is that I'm so focused on them that I abandon myself even when this is hurtful towards me. And I can't think straight. I can't eat when things are wrong, when they're not texting me back, when I think they're with somebody else, when I think they're mad at me. I can't function, right? If I go into this process with the intention to try to control someone who's already been uncontrollable, I've already lost. I've never been able to control them before through my ultimatums and threats, through my absence, through my silent treatment, through my trying to be everything that they want, through my trying to bargain with sex, seduce with sex, whatever it may be, cry, not say anything at all. Nothing has worked to try to get this person to change. So I'm going into this to try to get them to change more and putting myself in distress. When you do this, you're setting them up to continue to disappoint you. Because what if you go into no contact and they don't care? See, the thing about someone who is love addicted to someone and you're doing no contact to be on someone's radar, you project what you think you project what you're feeling onto them, thinking that they're in pain. So you can't breathe without them. You're the one who's losing sleep about them. You're the one who's all up in arms when things are upsetting, right? And part of the trigger and drama has been that they have not cared as much or done enough work to fix this, right? That's why we're going into no contact. So you think by having this absence that they are pining over your absence and really missing you and looking at the phone and wondering where your text is and wondering where you are, they ain't doing that because they're not available. They're out there living their life. They're having a good time. They're taking naps. They're at work. They're talking to somebody else. They might be sleeping with somebody else while you're waiting for them to care. And you're just like, it's just a matter of time before they figure it out. You are, instead of you dealing with your own emotions, you're hoping again that the love, that the forgiveness, that the apology is going to fix the part of you that's allowing yourself to stay in a relationship or stay connected to people who are not stepping up to protect you, to not see that you're worth fighting for, right? You're only reinforcing that story more. Does that make sense? So you can't change people, unfortunately. I mean, if we were able to transform and change people, not only would my job not exist, there would be so many other places. Like if we could all just control and have take away folks' free will and take away people's ability to be idiotic and neglectful and selfish, this world would be very different. But you can't change someone. The only one you can focus on is yourself. The other reason why this doesn't work is usually when people do this, especially when want to like teach them a lesson, is based on a lot of high emotion. So I'm mad at you, so I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to go into no contact and I'm going to block you if you even block them at all. But I'm just going to not talk to you for a while. And so when you meet people who are doing this out of anger, like they've been cheated on the last time, this person has ghosted them for the last time, whatever, they're like, you know what, forget it. I don't need it. I'm going to no contact. That lasts about 2 weeks max. And you know why it lasts 2 weeks max? Because that's about as long as even the person with the biggest grudge can go before the emotion starts to go down. Before all the anger and the rage and the justification starts to soften towards now, because anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is, for many of us, the emotion that we learned was safe for us to express versus everything that's underneath. So instead of me being able to be in touch with the fact that I feel betrayed, disappointed, hurt, scared, lonely, abandoned, instead of me being able to be in touch with those emotions and express that and act out of that place, the anger is easier to come out. Anger feels more powerful. Anger feels like it gives you more control, and a lot of times it does, right? So a lot of us, especially if we grew up in settings that we didn't have a lot of control, it may be easier to act in anger before we act in our vulnerabilities. Because what if I come to this person who's so unavailable to me and I tell them something like, I feel so abandoned by you, and have this person who's been unavailable to me this whole time look me in the face and either not really make an expression at all, give a fake ass apology that they're not going to actually, but they're not going to change their actions on the other side, chastise me for it, say that they don't understand, gaslight. What do you mean? How did I abandon you? Like, it is easier to be in emotion and be in anger about it versus the vulnerability. Make sense? So I go about a couple weeks trying to teach them a lesson, and I don't hear back from them. So now I'm going to reach out to them. So you're not even going to text me at all. I just think it's funny how, so you can go and hang out with them, but you can't hang out with me. I'll find a reason to poke and provoke to get back into connection to you. Remember, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So either way is intensity. If I can't have the romantic connection with you, if I can't have you to adore me and love me and everything, I'll take the fights. Because at least there's passion and connection there, right? At least there's some form of what I've learned to be intimacy. The ambitious girl says no lies, right? This is good. Yeah, right? So if I'm doing something out of anger for somebody else, towards somebody else, I'm not doing it for myself, and it's more likely to fall through the cracks. It's going to fall through the cracks. I'm dragging you. I'm just I'm just telling you. telling you what may happen or what does happen. Hello, I was listening to your last episode. I'm glad to catch you live. I'm happy you're here too. Learned this the hard way and now it's ending in divorce, but I couldn't feel more free and healed. Yeah, absolutely. You cannot change people. Yeah. Sometimes some of us, for those of you who are feeling shame or guilt or frustration, maybe you're forgiving yourself, but there's still frustration about some things that have happened. Some of us, the ways that we've had to learn our lessons is to go through it. Some of us have had to be in the relationships that set us back. We had to be in the jobs that set us back or feels like it set us back. We had to stay in codependent relationships with family members for us to get the wisdom on the other side that's going to help us in this next chapter, right? So everything is being used for our good. And so the quicker we can get to a place of compassion for ourselves and grace for ourselves and also kindness for ourselves, that we've been doing the best that we knew how with what we had available, right? And also that it's not over, that we're still here, that we still have full access and we're deserving of everything that we wanted. That's what gives us the power to move forward. Not a time machine to say, man, I wish I could go back 15 years, because who knows what would have happened? Who knows who knows who you would have been connected to? Who knows who you would have been? Right? We can make it up in our head, but nobody knows that. I've said that I haven't talked about this actually in a couple of years now, but when I used to talk about this show often for anyone who's binged podcast episodes. So if you've been here for a while, you've heard me talk about it. But there's a show called Being Erica. It was shot in like the 2010s now. So wow. But it's called Being Erica. It's a Canada-based show. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon Prime still. But it follows the experience of a woman named Erica, who's a millennial age. She'd be older now, but millennial age on the show, so in her 30s. And she has this life full of regrets. If she would have like lost her virginity to somebody else, if she would have taken this job, if she would have joined this sorority, if she would have quit this, her life would have been different, right? So one day she has an accident that leads her into the hospital. And so there's a guy that comes into her hospital room and he says that he's a therapist and that he can help her. She's like, I don't need therapy. But she ends up leaving the hospital and like a series of negative events happens. And then she looks up and she happens to be right in front of the therapist's office. So she decides to go and walk in. The punchline of this is the therapist. There's a little bit of magic and whimsy, but it's such a realistic show. It's not like what the part I'm about to tell you is the most magic that it is. But she goes into this office and the guy has her write down the list of all her regrets. And so what the show is every episode is there's a new regret. And she gets to go back in time. I wish I could have saved my brother's life who died early. I wish, I would have said this when I found out my dad was cheating on my mom. I should have, all these woulda, coulda, shouldas. And so every episode, she has a chance to go back in time to fix it. And I feel like that show did such an amazing job of seeing realistically how what you think could have been the worst thing ever that happened could have actually been exactly what needed to happen. Because she gets an opportunity to stay there and see what life is like and to see why things may have happened that needed to happen. And it's not until the very end of the show that, she needed to go through all this to figure it out. So for me, when I watched that show, it was like free therapy, which is why whenever I think about it, I try to tell y'all about it. But it was such a great show. I really suggest for y'all to watch it, Being Erica, if you can find it somewhere. But I totally got off track. No contact needs to be for you. It needs to be for you because you're tired of being over-attached to people who are not ready and available for you. The second thing, and then I'm going to end it for tonight. The second time for you to know, or wait, what's the title of this? When is the right time to do no contact? Okay. The right time to do no contact, by way of what I'm about to say is not the right time to do no contact, is if you are doing no contact to avoid communicating your feelings to someone. If you are trying to avoid communicating your feelings to someone and what you need, it is not the right time to do no contact. Now, here's where it gets a little bit messy or confusing. right? Because I said during a portion of this is that sometimes we will try to over communicate to people who have already shown that they're not available, they don't want to, they don't know how to give us what it is that we need. And so we'll spend time trying to negotiate with someone, trying to get them to commit and to change, right? And we're kind of wasting our breath instead of making the change ourselves. That is absolutely what happens sometimes. And sometimes we are so avoidant and afraid of conflict, and we're so triggered by people. Anytime I show up and I'm trying to be vulnerable and I try to show up in a relationship, I keep getting disappointed. So here I am in this relationship trying to communicate, trying to be vulnerable, romantic or friendship, right? And this person isn't calling me the way that I want them to. They're not doing what I need them to. They're not reading my mind. This is automatic. I mentioned indirectly this one time, this is what I needed. Or, I mentioned this thing is important to me. So they're not doing it, or they're not doing it the way that I want them to, the frequency. So instead of me following up and getting more information about it to see where their mind is, to see if it actually is the intentional slight that I think it is, to see if this is actually someone who may make with their words say that they want to show up for me, but they don't have the capability to. The way I'm going to stay in control and get you before you get me is I'm going to exit. I deserve a better friendship than this. I don't need to talk to her anymore. I'm not available. I deserve a better relationship than this. He can't give me what I need. I'm done. I'm not available. And I will go into no contact with someone and not tell them what's going on, because it's easier for me to to do that than to actually have a vulnerable conversation with them and say, I feel kind of hurt right now. I'm feeling neglected. I feel really vulnerable right now. I really need you and you're not here for me. I feel really scared that you don't really like me anymore. I feel scared that I'm starting to like you more than maybe you like me. And so I'm paying attention to things more. And this is what I'm noticing. Those are scary conversations to have. Conversations that you may not have had at all, especially with someone who's healthy, with someone who's going to look back at you in your soul and give you an honest answer. To be able to have those type of conversations without the manipulation and everything, but just truly pure and raw, it's easier for you to sometimes, if you're highly avoidant, to go into the playing the tape of the story that you think is going to happen or what you're afraid is going to happen. If I talk to them, they're not going to care. Nothing's going to change anyway. So what's the point, right? Um, um, or I'm going to talk to them, but I'm going to like have 80% of my heart out of it. So even if they apologize and give me the right answer, I'm still going to hold a grudge because I don't trust you. Because I haven't fully opened up and said, this makes it really hard for me to be here. And I don't know how to fix it. And to have that conversation now, right? To let someone know that you're scared, right? That your inner little child is scared and you don't know what to do. God forbid you're ever in a situation where you don't know what to do. And that's directly from our highly avoidant people, because we've learned to live our life just doing it all on our own. Is that making sense? So if I ever have a situation with people who have been green flags and who have shown up for me and been consistent for me, and we reach a natural crossroads where there's a miscommunication or misalignment that happens in all relationships, and I take that to mean that it's time for me to go, that might just be a trauma response. If this is not someone who is consistently unavailable to you, this is a good person, being good to you, loving towards you. They're loving towards other people. They're self-accountable. They know how to communicate. This might be the time for you to learn how to express yourself. And if that's hard for you, you need to do the work to be able to open up, because if you're waiting for a time and experience with a person that's going to magically understand everything and be able to read your mind and read your emotions when you're not even in touch with your emotions, that ain't going to happen. You have to be in touch with you first. You have to feel that you're deserving of taking up space. You need to believe that people are worthy of being trusted. You have to trust the fact that you can identify, these are people that I should trust, and these are people I need to leave to the side and keep on the outskirts. And these are the type of people that I want to move towards. How do I learn how to let the walls down to let people see me in a way that other people haven't had before? The thing about the love addict is, a love addict, even though she is so overattached to a person and to a relationship, she's never truly been vulnerable with them. Because the relationship is literally built on preserving the emotions of the other person and or the status of the relationship. The full relationship is focused on the other person or preserving the relationship. There's never a focus on her and what she wants and what she needs. She will kick herself to the curb emotionally, physically, sexually, whatever, to keep the person happy and to stay in connection. It's never been about you. So you don't quite know how to be vulnerable and to be in intimate relationships with the person that sees you as well. And that is very scary to do. It's very scary to have someone who sees you completely exposed and to not have all your defense mechanisms and to not have one foot out the door because it's easier to leave than to be heartbroken. Right? So you want to do no contact when it's time for yourself. Right? Yes, makes sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. I listened to a podcast episode where you said he don't care. He's already sleeping with somebody else. I couldn't do anything but cry because it was true. Yeah. And sometimes, I try to tell the truth, and sometimes I delete it when I say it very like directly like that, and I try to believe it or not, even if it sounds very direct. There are so many times that I'm like, I can't say it that way, and I try to soften it a little bit, but it may still come out direct. But yeah, I remember saying that, and like, yeah, but it has nothing to do with you. It's the fact that you're so wonderful that someone came in with a negative level of loving you. They came in shortcutting you and you were trying to make it work. You've always deserved someone who came to you on king or queen status level. And that's the baseline. That needs to be the baseline. Is it okay just to do it over text? I feel in person I may be manipulated like previously. Yeah. So you don't need to announce that you're leaving. You don't need to announce that you're going into it. Some people do. And when some people do, I tell them, I actually instruct them if they feel like very compelled to, that they need to do it via text and not in person. Because that's foreplay. For anyone who's done like the push pull and like I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to you kind of thing, sometimes those fights are the sexiest, most intense ways for y'all to reconnect. And if you're romantic and if you're someone who sleeps with your romantic partners, like to have the makeup sex, like it's just like, oh, like love it. Let me stop talking to you for a little bit so we can be mad at each other and then come together and like apologize and fight and like, and I'm sorry and I can't believe you did that to me, and to see them look down and then look back up at you with like feelings in their eyes, and then you're like, and then you soften and now y'all can, girl, when y'all be talking about wanting to have closure conversations, I'm like, okay, what are you going to say this time that you have not said 18 million times before? That you've already said, there's nothing you going to say that you ain't said to this man or woman a million times already. Ain't nothing new. You're just hoping that there's going to be some type of reconciliation, that you're going to see some regret in their eyes, that you're going to get an apology. You don't need no closure. You need to move. You need to move on. You need to do this for yourself. So yes, no lies told. Am I talking about y'all? I'm calling y'all out again. So you just need to say, hey, at the most, they don't even know what you're doing. Hey, I'm about to take some time for myself. I'm probably going to be unavailable for a few months. I just want you to know you haven't, I'm not mad at you or anything, but I'm just going to be focusing on myself. So I may not be responsive, but I'll check in with you when I'm done. And then block them. What sometimes my clients like to do is they block them. And this counts as, I'm not going over the full method with y'all just because it's a long method. Some of you know I'm writing a book about it. Some of you have already pre-ordered it, so thank you for that. But what some of my clients will do is they'll start off with no contact, and then they'll go into their phone and they'll unblock them. Because you're hoping that a text or a message is going to come through within a day or so, or some things are going to pop up that this person has been texting you in the back. And now, instead of you having the next, let's say you do it after 30 days, instead of you having the next 60 days to truly focus on you and you building your life, you get to have in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind the fantasy that they're missing you, that the text is going to come through anytime, and that's where your energy and focus is going to go. You're going to be waiting again. You're still emotionally connected and intertwined with this person. Because if you really didn't need to be connected to them, why unblock them? Why open the window for this person to contact you? Right? So you break no contact when you do that. When you unblock, when you block and unblock, you're starting over. Okay? All right. So I hope that this was helpful. If any of the things that I've talked about before have been hard for you, I have had women, so many women over the years. In fact, some of my clients right now have told me that they have been in therapy to work on these things for years. But it wasn't until they started working through the methods that I talk about, because remember, I've been here, I've done this, that they were actually able to make changes. People they've been overconnected to for years, blocking and unblocking, that finally there's actual movement that's being made, right? The ability to let down your walls and to trust people, to even know what that looks like, your vulnerability, to see what it is that you need, to see what is actually love addiction versus you're just a kind and generous person. What is being avoidant versus you have rules and standards and boundaries, and all the trauma that feeds into all that. All those are the things that I work through with women in my Love Addiction Recovery School, which is a 4-month cohort program. It's previously 6, but we're going to move to 4. And we take a deep dive into this process. And like I said, women who were my therapy clients for years, my coaching students were making quicker progress within a few months' time than my therapy clients were. And so that's why this is how I primarily help women work through this trauma and build the relationships that they want. I'm going to be hosting a free open house on Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. CST. You can register and save your seat. For the first half of the open house, I go over all these intimacy disorders in detail and talk about what it looks like and everything, not only to educate you, but to also let you know if this is the right place for you, if these are the things that you want to work on. And then the second half is where I go over all the components of the program. And the program is extensive because I've tried to create it to where we hit on every different corner of your trauma, your family, your boundaries, how you date, if you're already in a committed partnership, how you communicate what it is that you need. And so I go over all that. And then I'm available to answer questions as well, whether or not it's questions about what I taught about at the beginning or about the program. And so women who attend the open house, even if they don't join, they consistently tell me how much they enjoy the teaching portion as well. So if you want to come with me live and join me live, you should come to the open house, especially if you're ready to change these problems this year. In time for cuffing season, and to go into cuffing season, go into the holiday season with some relief and with some change in your emotional care and in your friendships and your relationships, and to have all that be different, right? So you can join. There's a link in the bio, but you can also go to blackgirlsheal.org/open house. And I hope that you enjoy it. So that's it for now. I'm sending you all so much love. I know your stuff has to be solid. I've gotten so much from your podcast at times. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. I'm so happy that that's been so helpful for you. But that's it. I'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a good one. Bye. Bye, YouTube. Bye, Facebook.